Can I test whether Mr. Zurin is on board? Mr. Zurin, are you there? Okay. Assalamualaikum. I just got information by Mr. Zurin. He's already on board. His username is the one Ren Hill there. Starting from R. Okay, since right now it's already like 2:05 p.m. So I think let's just proceed with the session. So first of all, I'd like to welcome everyone for this, if I can say, inaugural session of a joint webinar between UTM and RMIT. So my name is Ainul. I will be doing some introduction about this session. So first of all, I would like to extend the greetings from our Deputy Vice Chancellor of Research and Innovation, Professor Dr. Fauzi. He sent his regards and wish everybody all the best for this session. And he's looking forward to have to see that these activities will flourish into many more collaborations hopefully between UTM, RMIT, and beyond, and our friends. Yeah. So we are very grateful this afternoon to be having 4 speakers. 2 speakers from the local water industry players, and we also have 2 speakers from the state of Victoria, Australia. So they'll be talking about the impact of COVID-19 in the water industry. And we are also very grateful this afternoon because we have Professor Zainura from UTM as the moderator, and together with Professor Jega from RMIT, both of them will have the progression and the procession of these webinar sessions. So on behalf of UTM, as the host for this session, I would like to again extend and welcome everybody. And also, may we have a good session today. All right, then with that, I would pass the session to the moderators. Please, Zainura and Jega.
Thank you, Dr. Zainal. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon to all. I will do the introduction for the speakers from Malaysian water industry. So first, let me introduce IR Technologies Muhammad Hanifah, which is also an adjunct professor in UTM. Then I will introduce another speaker, Tuan Haji Zurin, but let's get back. Haji Hanifah. Haji Hanifah is actually homegrown, if I can say that, meaning that he obtained his diploma, at least in UTM, and then he went to obtain his degree in civil engineering from Glasgow University, as well as Master in Science in Public Health and Environmental Control Engineering from the University of Strathclyde, Scotland. So he has his list of achievement. If I were to read, we wouldn't have time. But he has successfully obtained a British government scholarship when he served the City Hall and has served the City Hall from 1981 for 13 years as a municipal engineer before he went and continued his career in Indah Water Consortium. So he's a professional engineer by profession and also a registered one with the Board of Engineer Malaysia and is currently the CEO or the Chief Operating Officer at IWK. So he's actually actively involved as well in collaborative activities, research activities in UTM. So he worked closely in particular with our center. And he has also been a member of the institution as well at both at local and international level. So this include being members of the Chartered Institution of Water and Environmental Management UK, the IWA International Water Association, and also has been the vice president of the Malaysian Water Association. So again, like I said, if I were to read the list of credential, we wouldn't have the time today. So again, we are honored to have Tuan Haji Hanifah on board today. Welcome, Hanifah. So let me go on and introduce our next speakers. So our next speaker is from Renhill SAJ. The company used to be known as SAJ, which is SAJ is the state-owned water company, water utilities company. So Tuan Haji Zurin is currently the head of division production and distribution at Renhill SAJ. So he was the former head of the M&E unit and also formerly the QA head of at SAJ. He has more than 25 years of experience in handling M&E equipment and maintenance of water treatment plants. So he has also vast experience in ISO management system, especially ISO 5001, and he's also has more than 15 years of experience in handling WTP plant production process and quality management. He's also, if I can point out, was the speaker on carbon footprint water exhibition in 2016, which the project was conducted by our center. So he presented the result at the water exhibition. He's also, just like Hanifah, is also MWA member, and I forgot to mention that he has a bachelor degree in engineering in mechanical from UTM. So that's a little bit about Tuan Haji Zurin. If I can pass to Prof. Jega to introduce the next speakers from Australia, from RMIT. Hello?
Yeah, I am starting. Good day all. My name is V. Jagadisan. You can call me Jaga. I am one of the moderators. I am Professor of Environmental Engineering and the Director of Water Effective Technologies and Tools. It is called WET Research Center at RMIT University, Melbourne, Australia. UTM and RMIT as an MOU. So under this MOU, one of the activities is developing a series of webinar. So this is the first webinar of a series. We are trying to focus on contemporary issues. So I thank Associate Professor Zainul Atma Zakaria and UTM for organizing this webinar series. We always acknowledge our RMIT University acknowledges the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin nations, traditional owners of the land on which the university stands. RMIT University respectfully recognizes elders both past and present. I will start with quickly what is sustainable development. The definition of sustainable development It has been defined in many ways, but most frequently used definition is sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So we might wonder, what is the relationship between sustainable development and COVID-19? COVID-19 has shown how visionary and powerful the definition of sustainable development is. For example, at least temporarily, we have breached or compromised the ability of the next generations to meet their own needs. The youngsters are struggling to find employment now, and our grandchildren are not having their normal life. Not only that, our own survival and then our sustainable development are under threat. This is to say the least, and all the industries suffering. So we are trying to focus on water industry today, and a lot of questions are in our mind. How did water industry operate pre-COVID? How the COVID impacted its operations? And what are the negatives and positives of the shutdown? How does the industry plan post-COVID return? What will be the new normal of the industry? What is the message to universities? How do we conduct our research collaboration, future research direction, education, etc. after this COVID? And other take-home messages. So our four speakers are going to cover their experience on these areas. And so I quickly introduce my colleagues. First is Dr. Ravi. He has a Dr. Ravi has a PhD in environmental engineering, Institute of Technology, Atlanta, USA. He has extensive experience in water industry, and he began career in academic research and consulting. Later, he held several roles in managing operations in water corporation. His experience include development of strategies for water supply and wastewater, and he is going to talk about South Gippsland Water's experience in COVID-19. And our next speaker will be I'm sorry. Our next speaker will be Mr. Ranga Fernando. He is the manager of distribution transformation team at Yara Valley Water in Melbourne, Australia, and he is currently responsible for the operational technology, non-revenue water, field information management, and IoT sensor deployment functions of the business. He has a honors degree in civil engineering and has more than 18 years of industry experience in Sri Lanka and Australia. So he is going to talk about transforming Yara Valley water through COVID-19. So we will let the session starts, and you can post your questions, or during the question and answer session, you will be able to raise your questions. So the floor is open for the first speaker now.
Okay, I guess we would like to invite Engineer Hanifa to start with the presentation. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm.
Do you have presentation to share with us?
Yes, thank you, Prof. I'll share the now. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me? Prof. Zanuras,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can
Prof.
hear you, Prof.
Can you
hear
hear me? So I'll do my
Yeah, I can hear
presentation
you.
first. Along the lines, thank you. Given by the organizers. First of all, I'd like to thank both UTM and RMIT for inviting the Water Consortium to actually share our actions and initiatives during the COVID-19 period, pre and post. So to start with, India Water Consortium is a national sewerage company, meaning that we are responsible for managing sewerage at the national level, and being one of the many important utilities during this period, we are actually expected to actually act, no, do our business more or less as usual. So what I'm going to do the next 15 minutes or so is just to actually run through some of the slides here to share the experiences which are actually presented, for the first time we're facing this sort of incidents. Uh, what we did to actually continue to provide sustainable and continuous sewerage services for the entire nation. So my topic today is will be sharing Malaysian experiences on the pre and post COVID-19 for the provision of continued and sustainable sewerage services. So in this, I will actually share uh, what are the key things which the company took. In fact, once we heard global scenario of things happening in the uh, other countries, in particular China, Italy, Iran, and so on. So beginning end of last year, early December 2019 and early uh, January this year, the company actually to actually prepare ourselves just in case there's going to be a lockdown. So what we did is we actually relooked at all our SOPs, looked at our manpower, our resources, and looked at what are the priorities to keep the uh, services ongoing. So with that, we presented to the management and also to the board to get the endorsement, and we were prepared upfront to take the priority action list to actually uh, continue the business as usual. So what we did is, I'll run through the next following slides just to give a snapshot of who India Water is. Uh, as I mentioned, in short, India Water is known as IWK. Malaysia is divided into two, the west and the east of Malaysia. So practically, IWK is responsible for the managing storage services in the managing Malaysia, consisting of about 10 states and 3 federal territories, covering about 90 local authorities, serving close to 26 over million population equivalent. So you can see this is the map of Peninsular Malaysia or the West Malaysia, and we are in most of the big local authorities. Currently, we are holding the world record of maintaining the most number of plants. To date, we are managing close to 7,000 plants. I think there's no one single company which manages this number of plants, So we still continue to manage close to about 7,000 plants, connected about 20,000 over kilometers of sewers, serving about 20 million population. Yet we keep our resources very lean. Our workforce is about 3,300 plus. We operate from about 21 main offices throughout the peninsula, and we also have another close to 60 reporting centers in the smaller urban rural areas. We have 5 central laboratories which actually conduct the day-to-day tests of sewage, which is collected nationwide. Of course, we have also one research center, one training center, and also a museum to actually portray, the developments in the sewerage sector. And the key business areas which are focused on is operation and maintenance of public sewerage systems, septage management, meaning that collect the septage from the individual septic tanks and also communal septic tanks. We also get occasionally involved in consultancy works, which includes technical and environmental services. We also do trade effluent treatment. We are also responsible for managing development approvals, which are related to sewerage network and sewage treatment plants. So any new development which are coming into the being at the early planning stage, they have to submit the planning approvals and also the detailed design approvals. Our guys will actually vet through and approve. So the COVID-19 actually taught us certain ways on how to actually improve these services. We also provide technical training and operational skill training, not only for Malaysia, but worldwide. Our training center attracts a lot of participants from all over Asia and also Africa. And we also do a lot of capital works program, construction of new sewerage infrastructure. Okay, with a brief two slides of the background to IWK, sewerage services is also recognized as one of the 10 key essential services when this COVID-19 actually happened. So under the Ministry of Health guidelines, they have actually listed 10 key services which need to continue to provide service. Of course, food is one, high in the list. Energy, communications, defense, e-commerce, health services, and so on. So sewerage is one of the 10 which is listed. So since IWK as the National Sewerage Company, we were actually prepared before the official MCO, Movement Control Order, which took effect from the 18th of March in Malaysia. All the SOPs were already prepared upfront. So when the Movement Control Order was declared officially on the 18th of March, what we did is we had two sets of workforce. One workforce work from home, the other workforce is work at the sites or the offices. And the ratio was more or less, and on average, is about 30-70. 70% work from home, 30% work from the offices. But at the overall level, 50% of the operating staff were actually on the ground at any one time, and they work on 2 shifts. So, so that we actually can control their own personal health, and also we monitor that whether any of them are actually exposed to any signs of COVID-19, what do you call that, symptoms. So if there's any, then we quarantine. So all in all, from 18th of March until today, we have actually identified about close to 80 people from our workforce who had certain contacts, but none of them were actually confirmed. But we took the steps to actually quarantine them and also to monitor them. And when they came back to work, we also checked in thoroughly before we actually allowed them to come back to work. So while we actually had the SOP, these are some of the pictures during the MCO, the Movement Control Order, that we can see the activity of sewerage maintenance of the treatment plant, the network maintenance, the pump station maintenance, the dislodging maintenance, and so on, was still ongoing as almost per usual, but at a reduced scale in terms of manpower and so on. So these are some of the pictures you can see at various locations within Malaysia. So apart from the operations on the ground, we also, on a daily basis during the Movement Control Order, until today, on a daily basis, we monitor the staff deployment ratio. So we know that what are the number of staff at HQ, what are the number of staff at the various local offices, and we know what are the shifts they work. We actually monitor them daily, and we also split them between key management staff, support staff, field staff, uh, outsourced staff, that means our contractors, and also the security staff. And all these people are actually equipped with proper PPEs and also the additional enhanced PPEs due to the COVID-19. Apart from the staff deployment, we also monitor customer calls and complaints and inquiries on a daily basis. And while some of our staff are actually working from home, we actually provided the infrastructure. They were all on Wi-Fi and whatever online systems, including Zoom and WebEx meetings. So we could actually continue the communication. And you can see from this slide here, on a daily basis, we monitor the or the inquiries which come on, and almost all of them were actually meeting our LOS at 100% compliances throughout the movement control order period. And while our staff are actually engaging in actually responding to the customer inquiries and so on, part of the staff actually continue to actually enhance the SOPs which we have prepared, and also continue to actually communicate to the general public on the right context to communicate, call, and so on. And we do monitor this through the online systems. One of the most important things with this COVID-19 is this is unprecedented. So we have to actually look for enhanced PPEs. And during this critical time, we find that certain basic things like the face mask, even sanitizers, and so on, were not really available in the market. So then we have to start communicating, and also from even elsewhere, even from overseas, so that we can actually equip both our employees and also our contractors with the right enhanced PPEs and facilities. And we also have restricted outsiders from visiting our facilities. We have actually restricted travel restriction. Very stringent travel declaration needs to be done. And of course, we have to observe a lot of social distancing. And a lot of the communications were done on daily IT-based facilities. From that, we have further enhanced safety and operating procedures and briefings almost on a daily basis. We communicate to our staff and the contractors, and also we use the social media to communicate to the public. And these are some of the samples which are shared on the screen. While doing this, we also engaged with the ministry, and the government actually saw there's a need to actually identify or have early warning indicators. So sewage has been identified as one of the early warning indicators. So the government actually commissioned one of their government research bodies, which is NARIM, National Water Research body, to actually work with UTM and also the Delft University, together with IWK and our regulator SPAN, to actually commission a study on identifying any possibility of using the sewerage system as an early warning system to detect red zone areas and high impact areas. So the study has been commissioned, it's still ongoing. It's not my intent today to share these details of the study, but probably in separate sessions we could actually share more on this study. But basically, the study will actually give some early indications of what are the real priority zones which need to take early actions to actually do the tracing of probable COVID-19 carriers. Communication is one very important thing. Communicate, communicate, communicate. So as an essential utility company, we've got to communicate to the stakeholders, to the customers, to the consumers, and so on. So we use a lot of communication media, in particular all the social medias, to actually communicate, and these are some of the messages which we pass through them, and through this communication media they also could communicate back to us, and we also could respond back very fast. And since this is something new, everyone is in the same boat, so we have to help each other, and IWK also contributed part to the CSR in terms of providing ventilators, special beds, monitoring system, PPEs, and so on to the needy. And these are some of the services which we provided. In this picture here, you can see our Minister of Environment and the Deputy of Minister of Environment and Water, who also, together with us, we participated with them to actually, help out. In this particular case, there's a hospital in Terengganu where they actually house the COVID patients. We actually provided the dislodging services, so that the hospital can continue to operate, without any hiccups. So these are all part of our CSR services. So moving forward, we had 3 key dimensions plan prepared based on priorities, time frame, and also the leadership. Priorities, we focus on the financial. Of course, we being a private company, we also have to look at the revenue and also the cost controls. And definitely during this period, the revenue part has been badly affected because of the movement control order. Normally people walk in to actually make the payment and so on. Many of them, the last 3 months, have actually slowed down, which indirectly actually affected our collections. But we actually try to actually create new ways on how they can communicate and actually make the payments and so on. Of course, businesses during this period, many of them closed down, and hence they have difficulty in actually paying the dues and so on. Also, we communicate to them to have proper flexible installment schemes and so on. Operations, we look at how to actually work flexibly. No more the cast in stone sort of SOPs. We look at both the construction, the operations, and also the day-to-day administration, on looking at new ways in actually managing the operations. Of course, people safety comes first. Until today, very stringent health and safety requirements. People who walk into the offices, most of the offices has been sterilized or disinfected. So we continue to do the checks before allowing anyone to actually walk into the office. As you know, if you find one case, we have to actually isolate and also quarantine and so on. So we don't want all these additional unnecessary things to be done. So we are prepared for that. And also customer communication continue to be our main focus. Time frame, we have a recovery plan up to first quarter of next year. What are the key targets? And we strictly follow this monitoring on a daily basis. And of course, all this comes together with the leadership. I think leadership, both from the board level, the CEO level, right up to the bottom unit level leadership is very important for them to actually communicate both ways. And we continue to do this on almost 24/7. So our work is actually guided by the Institute of Corporate Directors Malaysia, 7 actionable steps in order to curb the COVID-19 impacts, which consists of communication. Don't be afraid to show compassion. That means even the leadership comes down to make decision. Act decisively, start paving the path to recovery. Do not lose sight of the focus. Sorry. Broaden the horizon and also the knowledge skills. There's new things which you discover during this period of MCO, and this could be part of our new SOP moving into the future. and most importantly, take care of the well-being. Everyone has to take care of themselves. Then only they can take care of the company and the country as a whole. So everyone is responsible, and we also continuously update the board, and board also continually gives feedback on what are the new things which needs to be done. And all in all, sewerage being a very important component of the SDG, you know, COVID-19 impacts almost 14 of the 17 SDGs as shown in this diagram here. And IWK itself, we are involved in almost 10 of the SDGs. And each of these SDGs will continue to contribute and also to monitor our contribution towards the sustainable development goal as an overall. So in a nutshell, answering to the questions, I think along the way, I've actually demonstrated many of the points which Prof. Jaga has actually mentioned just now. Things like how did we operate, how did impact our operations, the negatives and the positives of the shutdown. Some of the positives are you'll be surprised, sewerage is 24/7, 365 days. The quality of water in many of our rivers throughout the country is actually improved despite the sewerage operations. So in here we start to think, what are the other polluting factors which actually contribute to better water quality in our rivers. And some of it we find that the closing down of the businesses and the SMEs, the small and medium scale enterprises, the restaurants, the oil and grease, the silage, by actually not operating, actually contributed. So one of the action plan moving forward is to further improve some of these pollutions to the waterways. So these are some of the positive. Of course, less theft because the movement control order. I think the thieves are also kept at bay, because a lot of army were actually around, policemen and the army, So it actually helped many of the utilities, including the power utility, telecommunication utility. I think overall there was less theft during this period, less even complaints because people are much more focused on what they are doing. So there's no room for pollution. Now, how did we plan post-COVID? I think I've discussed some, and we are beginning to actually adopt the new norm. And the last question is, how do we continue to work with universities and researchers? I think this COVID-19 have actually brought upon good lessons on being practical. So most of the researchers in the university, I think we have to now look at, focusing on more applied research, things which can actually give quick gains, low hanging fruits and so on. So maybe you can have another session to just discuss on new areas of research in the water industry. So with that, I thank you, and I'm happy to answer further questions later on. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer, very informative presentation. Actually, you have answered so many questions that me myself have in mind. So again, thank you again. Without further ado, I would like to invite our next speaker, Tuan Haji Zuri, to give presentation. Tuan Haji, do you have a slide? Yes. Thank you. Haji Zurain, can you hear me?
Yeah, do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Okay. I did prepare earlier the slide, but then at the end of the day, when I saw the time is only 20 minutes, and I better just speak up like that. It's openly because information is all here.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, moderator, Dr. Zainura, is that? And also our colleague, presenter from the other company and all that, and all the members and also the audience who seen the 2 days discussion. I wish to a little bit go through on the company background, which I think more likely we try to cut short on the introduction so that I can go straight to the what is the effect to the operation of RSAJ in general. RSAJ is operating in Johor. We have under is 44 treatment plant, water treatment plant spread over in Johor, yeah, and more than 23,000 kilometers of pipeline, and the number of staff is all plus all department is about 2,300 staff altogether, and we serve 1.2 million customers, but overall numbers of population is around 4 million. Yeah, and the major contribution of our collection is actually from non-domestics, which is from factories, industries, and all that, which is comprising of 40% of the our income, and 40% is from domestic, is from household and those the urban area. Okay, talking about the effect of ACJ operation in general, we know that it started in Wuhan, and after that we talk about in greater detail at our top management level. And therefore, from there, before even the lockdown initiated, beginning the 18th, we already start, collaborating among the top management, and we decide how we go about the COVID-19. And therefore, one is already decided and announced by the Prime Minister beginning 18, the first PKP, and we immediately start with the, because we have internally business continuity program, yeah, which we call it BCP plan, business continuity plan. Underneath the business continuity plan is our ERP, response, emergency response plan, whereby it's already being developed to combat all these kind of threats, yeah. But majority of the exercise in the past is just like the pollution to the river, the fires, whatsoever, yeah. But this time around is slightly different because it's unknown at the beginning. People start to get panic, and even our staff also, they asking the top management what to be done and all that. And therefore, we beginning the 18th of March, we start the top management sit together with the head division, yeah, to draft and to adjust the business continuity plan according to the so-called general regulatory requirement, because we are fall under the SPAN SPAN as our regulator, and they are in that sense they are the one who drive us to make sure that our two things, which is quality and quantity, did not be jeopardized during the whole COVID-19 MCO. Okay? And what has happened is actually during the MCO, things are getting at the time, in Malaysia, even when we decided and announced there is the seriousness of the issue, we internally we looking at three main areas, because RSAJ is taking care of right from the resources up to the end user, which is our customer. And our main target, first of all, is for the well-being of our staff. The manpower, we are looking after them by one of the initiatives at the time is actually to ensure that all the entries being put the necessary sanitizers, masks, as well as the wetting through a temperature meter. And that has been immediately done even before the 18th. Yeah, before the 18th, when they start off taking this initiative. And also on the contractors, we get the so-called guideline and instruction, and also the so-called a new guideline from SPAN, and therefore from there we issue letters to all the suppliers to ensure that the 44 treatment plants under us is well managed. Means that we are doing the minimum maintenance, all the planned and unplanned shutdown. Because of the new instruction by SPAN, we have to stop temporarily. And what has happened that the basic maintenance to our panel contractors and by our M&A team continue as usual. That is from the treatment plant. At the distribution side, all the 23,000 kilometers of pipeline being managed as usual, because the team, as part of the essential services, approved by the government to continue our businesses. Our team at site are generally working almost 100%, except those non-critical staff like clerks, some of the executive which is non-critical, taking data and all that. But operators, technicians, all that continue as usual. Yeah, that is the condition of the operation at the time. And as and when necessary, means that there is also incidents where there is a staff who, in Johor at one particular point, there are quite number of new cases came out. And one of the staff happened to be close contact. And because of the panicking situation at that time, people are responding quite negatively, and they are scared here, scared there, and most of them requesting for work from home, which already practiced by then. But because of that finding, we do a little bit more. Yeah, the arrangement at the time was slightly different from usual. The operation running almost 100%, but then the offices staff, 40% is working from home. But of course, accessibility through email, through the communication channel like video conferencing has been enhanced. At a point of time, we have day-to-day meeting with our top management. Yeah, from 18, from the first case, I would say from the first MCO, we are running quite stringently. It means that every day we sit together, ensure that a report as practiced under the business continuity plan has been developed and being reported daily. And that was surprisingly, all the data are intact, and they are responded very positively during that period. Though this COVID-19 in somehow at the beginning was a bit unknown. For example, like where he can spread off, how to control body, the distance, how long you can communicate, and all that. These are the things that we immediately get our SHE department, the quality management department, to determine clearly to our staff. Yeah, we increase security a bit. We put up more security guards at our entry. Though despite the decline number of staff at our HQ, we increase the security to ensure that all staff being checked. And we have, for example, look at my clothes. It's always continually up to now. We check every day. The temperatures, the sanitizers is always in place, and masks always being kept individually. Yeah, and operationally we have once we have developed the ARP, things getting in fact overall the production numbers has declined a bit during the MCO because of a lot of industry shut down. In fact, the decline is around 1 to 3%. At the beginning, it's a bit more, around 3%, 3 to 5%. But during the second PKP, second MCO, it has dropped down to 1%. And in fact, also on the other side is actually from the resources to operation, and the end user, which is our customer services. Our customer services were generally, surprisingly, also maintained quite well. Our collection, as compared to the normal months, dropped slightly between 1 to 2% at the beginning, but then it's maintained around 1%, which we don't talk about it. We never feel that we can, remain even the collection. But then after, due to the way how we work, when these people under customer service, they are being instructed to follow up with the main customer, though they are most of their counter closed, but the staff, the senior staff like the executive upward, they are urged to follow up with the customer, because industries mostly closed down, but we need to take the bill, and therefore we identify a number of major customer, out of the 1.2 million customer, around 40% or 30 to 40% is our industries customer, and they are the one who being follow up. We in fact we worry that after the end of the COVID, some of the factory may shut down or bankruptcy and all that. To avoid that kind of scenario, we need to know the customer, and these are the part where our customer services play a role. They get to know these people, whether they are going to resume their businesses, or they are just waiting and wait and see. Because during the lockdown, all the shipment, ordering have been dropped significantly. And moreover, like us who produce water to single company who produce water for the whole Johor, and we have to be careful of the scenario. And our management is making a good step over the following up with the customer and ensuring the collection. Our collection has been only dropped slightly from normally around 90%. It dropped to drop around 3%. Yeah. It's around 3% only it drops, and now has come back to only around 1% probably. Yeah. And collection wise, though has been announced during the 18th first MCO, only by then at the end of the first MCO, we realized that the importance of continually to give bills to our customer. We have decided, the first water operator in Malaysia, because we want to be a leader in Malaysia, leading company, one of the leading company in Malaysia. We decided at the time, the top management decided to resume the billing reading, the meter reading. Though the other water operators still scared, even TMB, for 3 months they stopped. But we only stopped for about 2 weeks. 2 weeks, because we see the sense of it, it doesn't make sense. We discuss, distance-wise, meter reader is very far off from the owner of the house will scare off with the people out there who come to their house. And the Food Panda is working, frankly speaking, Food Panda is working even, the hazard introduced by the Food Panda even worse. We are just looking at the meter, and therefore we decided the meter reading to be continued since then. And thanks to God a lot, and because of that decision, our collection has not been depleted badly. Yeah. And not much complaint about SAJ on metering, because we read meter accurately. We are only making the estimation on the first 2 weeks, the first MCO, and afterward, I do not know, Professor Zainura, whether you have complained over SAJ. I don't think so, right? Yeah, but because the way how actually we conduct, there are some complaint at the time, nonetheless, because when the billing start to estimate, the second month comes to be slightly high, but people has to remember all the kids are coming back, all those families get together and all that, and the number of baths that taking, all that activity has increased the usage of their water. But but overall, until now, there are not many complaints. But the complaint that ever came to us is handleable. On the other part, it's actually we on the overall exercise, we ensure that at the plant also, and every single department has a person in charge and their backup staff. For example, the manager with their assistant and all that, just to ensure that any staff who could be involved in close contact or person PUI, the third contact, person under investigation, being tackled perfectly. And we do simulation also of a plant. If in case ever a plant, one of the staff being positively, detected with COVID, we in fact we close we remove all the staff because they're all going for quarantine. We bring the standby team from nearby plant because we are operating totally 44 treatment plant. All the standby team from nearby treatment plant, we are taking them to the affected installation. That is our strategy under the emergency response plan. Overall, I would say that RSAJ, when I look at the scenario throughout the how many MCO, there are 4 MCO, and continued with the another MCO and the conditional MCO. We have overall quite well prepared as we are, as I mentioned earlier. We have done that even before the announcement of lockdown, the MCO. And internally, we have communicating very well. Our operation are basically depending on mostly VC, radio conferences between our top management, between the district, though it's spread over to 10 districts, but then all the leaders of the district will have to sit with their head of department or head of division, including me, every 2 days, every 2-3 days minimum. But at the top, we are sitting every day. These are the things, and that maintaining our yeah. Okay. Okay.
If you could conclude your presentation.
I'm sorry. Okay. The message that, but one thing that I need UTM probably to look at, UTM hopefully they can look at, because when the WHO, World Health Organization, decided that our chlorine has to be increased from 2.2 at the end user to 0.5 ppm, that is affected because some of the plant, the increased number of costs it's a matter of cost. It doesn't mean so much to us. We can, all due respect, we spend a lot at the time. But overall, probably UTM has to further check whether this decision is rightfully check and confirm whether the increase of that 2.5 has been properly researched. Yeah, that's a thing, that one area that I would say that probably UTM could help us to ensure that if this kind of so-called crisis occurred, similar crisis occurred, whether the decision to increase the chlorine dosing is right for the water operator or not. And secondly, the billing, also on the, because quite recently we know the story of TMB, right? We don't want to talk about the TMB because they stopped for 3 months. But whether the need of respond panic in that sense, that making people decided quite adversely in some extent, because if, for example, like SAJ, though the other state, when we call them, they said, we stopped for 2 months, we stopped for even more than that, could be. But I said our income, our revenue is based on billing that we are generating to customer, and we decided from our day-to-day discussion, we decided we should continue. Otherwise, we are badly affected. Yeah, it's going to be badly affected, and that area also, the billing, the seriousness of this kind of crisis to to a business operation, probably UTM can also look at. Yeah. And new normal for SAJ, like the SOP, clean hand, wash hand every day, is all in our SOP now. We already put every single door sanitizer, and they must stand by at least the wear mask as and when they need to go out from the officers, and also cleanliness. And now our cleaner, we add numbers of cleaners to ensure that every single handrails whatsoever being cleaned in the offices and also the treatment plant. And contractor wise, we have to register the foreigners who work under the contractors also being checked thoroughly. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, Professor Dr. Zainura. A little bit longer, but then it's not enough time for me to explain in greater detail. But then overall, as RSAJ to me has responded very positively, very to me to some extent excellent in a way, because very effectively, particularly on our ensuring the business continuity as well as our collection as a revenue to the company. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Haji Zurin. Again, thank you for very informative presentation. Yes, I'm happy with my bill so far. No problem. So yes, because I was smiling because I was having complaint with the NB earlier. So yeah, with SIJ everything's fine. What you said perfectly makes sense. It's the least risky business of all. So okay, so again, since the time we only have another hour, I think what we'll do is actually reserve all the questions after all the panel may running a little bit late. So please hold on to your question. I'm passing my the mic virtually to my counterpart, Prof. Jega, to continue with the presenter from Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Zainura. So our next presenter is Dr. Ravi Ravin. So I will straight away ask him to start the presentation. Over to you, Ravi.
Thanks, Yuga. Good afternoon, all. Yeah, I'll share my actually slides shortly. It's good to be with you. Actually, we are a small water corporation here in Victoria, in Australia. That I think it's either small or big. The challenges are similar. Probably smaller corporations. We have a smaller number of staff, and so therefore our preparations and things like that sometimes has to be a bit more diligent. So I'll very quickly share my. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, as I mentioned, we are South Gippsland Water. I hope our experience will be useful to you. Actually, so we are located in Victoria, almost closer to the coastal towns. Very nice part of the world. Actually, it's around 2 hours from Melbourne, and yeah, this is probably what you see most of the countryside. It's really dairy country. Yeah, I think here in Australia, most of the water corporations are owned by the government, and so we are a state-owned water corporation. We have 14 water corporations within Victoria. We are probably one of the smallest. So it'll give you a different perspective in terms of what type of challenges we go through, and then what type of learning we come out of this as well. So I'm mindful of the time, and I'll try to make it quick as well. So we have around 120 staff, around 50% in the operations. I'm the general manager of operations for South Gippsland Water. Our operations staff spread out in 4 work depots. we cover probably wider area, around 25 towns, 25,000 people, but they all are located in small towns in this dairy country. Probably I would say maybe around 200 kilometer by 150 kilometers wide. So it's a fairly large area we cover. So we do travel, drive a lot, our staff, and even commuting to work. It's actually like, it's quite a bit of drive. Probably you would have heard that in Australia, probably everyone drives a lot. Actually, and then our staff, probably because you have to cater for so many customers with smaller population density, so that is itself is a challenge. We look after water and wastewater from the dams all the way to the customer taps. So we look after the treatment plant, as well as the reticulation or the supply of water all the way to the customer, including probably one of our storage. Actually, this is probably one of our largest storage in our treatment system. So the COVID-19 response, I think I'll probably go through very quickly on this one as well. We normally have an emergency management system similar to everyone else, but it generally always focused on really very quick emergencies. You come to that, and then so we use that same system. So you have an incident controller, and then you have all sorts of operations, communications, logistics, and then so you look after that whole system, and then the emergency comes so quick, and then really you recover probably within a day or two. So that's how our emergency plans has been. This one, it's completely different. Actually, we have been told, we knew that actually COVID was in China, and then we didn't think that it's going to come to Australia. Actually, so when it started really, so then we get instructions from the government itself. So we started really setting up our crisis management team. So we were not able to utilize our normal management structure, because it's generally within a day or two, our emergencies are really over. Like it's water quality emergencies or any type of emergency. This one, it's nothing came there, but you need to plan and prepare actually for months and months. So it's completely a different type of emergency. So we had to roster staff. So within our management, we have a very limited staff. So we went into the next level of management, and then so we used quite a few staff actually for rostering, and then so we met twice. And then the key part for us was communicating, because we very quickly went from the offices, because we have been instructed by the government actually close the office, and then so therefore we went back into working from home or home to depots type of environment. So our key issues have been planning for if anything had come back, and then the other one was communication, really, because you lose the communication links between your staff, your customer. So that has been really our key focus from day one, really. I'll go through this some couple of the plans, what we did very quickly as well. But the communications, mainly daily update to internal staff, through emails, with and then the external one, really, we weekly give a situation report to the government and then to the customers through our website. The customers, actually, we have been telling that, we are an essential service, we'll continue to provide service, and we want to make sure that customers are really aware and okay with actually, when they see some of our staff are really outside doing repair works and things like that, they should be feeling okay. So we have to really mention them. This is our pandemic plan. We prepared accordance with the state of Victoria pandemic plan, because it has to be actually like, it's a consistency there throughout the state, especially in terms of stages. So the stages have been declared by the Department of Health and Human Services. So it's very organized, and then we were all part of that structure. So we really used that template, and then we really modified it for us. So there are several stages. So the first one is preparedness. How do you prepare yourself? And then you are really on standby, selection, target detection. It's all based on really how far the transmission has come into your system. So the government will make the call, and then we really act on that based on that stages. And then the actions include, for individual stages, the actions will vary. The incident response, hygienic measures, generally probably most of the stages it's similar. Communications, like what are the local status for our region, and then in Melbourne and Victoria type of information. So that's pretty useful for us. And then the business continuity. So the business continuity plan, it's another one. Really, we had a business continuity plan as again, it was very much similar, focused on infrastructure deficiencies. So like, you had a main break, major breaks, how are you going to cope up with that? Or you have an ICT system failure, how are you going to cope up with that? But this one, it's completely different. Like, mostly it's about the resources, your staff. So if really half or 40% of your staff are not available, how are you going to really work? So that's where really our planning has been focusing on prioritizing actually like, what are the business critical activities so that we can deliver the minimum essential supplies to our customers. And then we want to ensure adequate workforce available. We were really planning 3 stages. The worst case was 40% staff. If they are not going to be available, how will we be able to operate our plant? How will we do the maintenance, and like everything else the same. So our response plans, this is probably one of the major outcome from us. So like, we individually go into the departments, like, the water and wastewater treatment, using their managers, their treatment operators. We come up with these response plans. Like, so these are the risks. How are we going to operate? So supply chain risks could be there. Analysis risk could be there. And then if our staff are not there, how are we going to really operate? Maintenance and service delivery, ICT, communications, health and well-being. So during the operation in COVID-19, as I said, we restricted the public access. All our offices were closed, and most of the operations continued remotely. So we segregated our staff. The field staff really, they work from home. So they went from the home to the work site and to the depots only for picking up equipments for any major works or something like that. The staff goes from home to the treatment plant, and then we split into teams so that there is no crossover. Actually, like there are 3 teams in the maintenance and then 2 teams usually for treatment plants. So in case if one gets sick, at least we could be able to operate with the other. It's a contingency. We had some vehicle policy. We wanted really only one person only in one vehicle at a time. And then also we wanted to minimize actually like the risk of contamination. So we had our own laptop, even within the treatment plant and the control room. We encouraged them to really use their own laptop to connect it to the system and work on it. We were able to do this fairly quickly because our operations had almost everyone had a laptop, except some of our office staff. That's what the time it took, but otherwise we were able to deploy this very quickly. The health and well-being of the staff was really paramount. So how are we going to really make sure that the staff who are working from home and then who are isolated, able to be really seen that actually like, their well-being is being covered. So we proactively really had scheduled safety interaction. Around 25 of including senior management and several of management were selected to really go through the whole organization. All individually, or you meet at the site when somebody is working to really see how they are working and how it's there. It's all about their well-being. That is really our key focus because that is our strength actually. Like, what's the impact to solid water? We are lucky, one of the luckiest one as well. Like, we are a regional one. The impact to the region is very low. So far, only 6 people has been detected in that whole South Gippsland region, and then only 1 person has been actually like detected in the last month. None of our South Gippsland staff has been detected positive. We have a couple of members, I think, couple of employees. We isolated them for quarantined them for a couple of weeks because one of them came from overseas, and then the other one had a family member from overseas. Otherwise, most of our activities has been business as usual. What are the positives came out from this COVID-19 for us? We moved to remote operations very quickly. Within a week, I think, probably because I think we started preparing and we didn't even think. It developed so quickly, like, and then really almost like close to a shutdown stage, and then close the office. I was so amazed to see how all the paper documents become electronic. Actually, like we were really do this digitalizing for so long, and so it's a significant change. Happened very quickly. I would say the productivity increased. Field staff goes to site directly from home, and then the office staff saved time in commuting to the office. So they were more focused, and the time really has been very much on the work. And then whoever actually, like, I'm working from home, and then all our staff managers are working from home. And so how do we really communicate, and how are you able to continue to run? We have structured meetings. They are much more efficient than what we used to have meetings in the previous times. It start on time, finish on time, very focused meetings with the field staff as well. But I'm able to really meet probably more staff through online than what I used to be able to do. The online meetings for all the staff. I was not even expecting that the field staff could be able to do this and pick that up very quickly. Webinar becomes more regular, like this one. Really, like these things were there before, but I think it is really the situation made us to really make this more. I think the important one, I cannot neglect that, is the time for yourself. I think there are more time now, so it's really more time with your family, and then it's for you exercise, meditation, new learnings, and things like that as well. Like, it's probably a lot of positives come out of that for us. What are the challenges? The staff isolation. Actually, like it is a challenge for mental stress for some staff. Actually, like, you cannot really underestimate that the whole way team room chats. Actually, like, where you really build relationship, you get to know people, and then also the siloed groups. The groups actually, like, even though we are trying our best, it's all really have to make it a bit more formal. Earlier, there were like, a lot of mixing there within the staff. So now it's become a bit more siloed. And then more discipline needed for work-life balance for the staff who are working from home. Actually, like, you need to know when to start, when to stop. Otherwise, it'll become like, your home, you start anytime you want. And so that's going to be a challenge. And then that will really encroach into your family life. And that will be a challenge. The reduced visibility is really, it's like, as a manager, probably I know, because I'm spending a lot more time direct reports. So probably compared to what I used to do, I'm probably meeting with them more. But still it's like I would, it's a binocular vision. really, you can see a lot more, but you don't know what you don't know. Actually, out of sight, it's out of mind. There are a few technical problems because we are in the region. Like we have heavy reliance on the internet now, and that causes issues as well. So if you have cyber security risk and things like that, really, because it can collapse. Actually, the whole thing cannot really communicate. And how do you really recruit and train your new staff is a challenge. Our planning for after COVID, we already started getting to that phase now. So really, we have set out some objectives. Like how are we going to really work in the future? The important part is really protect health and safety of the staff, contractors, and customers. So, it's in terms of the COVID-19 risk or any pandemic risk, and then if we are going to work like this type of arrangement, then how actually the well-being of the staff is going to be looked at. It is one of the key one for us. Protect against the silo mentalities. How can you really build relationships when you really work in different areas? New approaches to teamwork that support diverse and inclusive ways of working. Continuing to efficient. I think that's one of the key one actually. We wanted to really keep some of the benefits what we have achieved. Don't want to let it go. We wanted to really stick to that and see how we could be able to keep that really as we come out of this COVID-19. Some of the positives. Prioritize based on the organizational cost and benefits. So at the moment, actually, we are in the process of getting the feedback from the staff, and then we're getting and engaging and an external consultant to look into how we could be able to really modify the structure and how we can really work. New normal for SPWG. I probably would say that we before we going into COVID-19, we were all really planning for a new facility, a central facility that will have combine all our offices and all our depots together, and that's how the major water corporations work. But now I think we are seriously reviewing the strategy, whether that is really the way we are going to operate or not. Actually, is that the efficient way? And is that what really our staff wants, customers want? The new norm would be, I believe, it will be like a balance. It'll be a lot of on and off. We don't want to let go of some of the positives, as well as you have to really keep the staff connected as well. Staff management will be different as well. I think it's we have been doing this, but the leadership training to manage it, one of the key one also at all
Ravi,
levels.
couple of minutes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I have one more slide. I'm almost there.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, it is. It is. So it's how you manage your staff actually, outcome based. So it's you trust your employees, and then so it's not that really they come and then you count the time or something like it. It's very much really based on their, so wherever they work and you get that. My take home message probably to the audience is disruption leads to innovation. We were not planning for this, but we were forced into that. There was a few positives came. So you want to really stick to that. And this is an opportunity for change and don't want to miss it. So that's really the key one. The part, I think I covered most of them, Jaga, except the research needs. Can I actually give some sort of an indication for future research? I think it's that I would probably say that I think the university levels we shouldn't be ashamed of failures. So therefore, this type of changes, how can we think completely out of the box? The way what's happening now, we have not imagined at all. Like, it's now we are going through this. So can we think in that direction? Like, I'm thinking in a longer term, how the water supply system is going to be, especially for smaller towns. What will be the cost-effective way to do that? Water security will be always an ongoing problem. So what are the alternate ways we can handle that and things like that? And then the wastewater is same. Could be decentralized options, could be for some of the smaller towns, could be the solution. We shouldn't be always looking at the same way what we have been doing all the time. Thank you very much for that. If you have any questions, I'll take it later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi. So we a lot of information. Now we straight away go to Ranga Fernando. So Ranga, over to you.
So Jega, I think you can hear me.
Yes, here you can see the slides.
Okay, that's good. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank UTM and RMIT University for giving us this opportunity to share the industry knowledge with the wider audience, because I think it is a really good thing, something that we should do more often, and sharing the industry knowledge with the academics and developing together. So in this short presentation, I will try to give you a bit of insight into the journey that Yara Valley would have been through during this COVID-19 period. And also, how are we using this thing as an opportunity to transfer ourselves to do better in the future. So before I start, I would like to give a quick introduction to Yara Valley Water. So Yara Valley Water is the largest water retailer in Melbourne. So we service about 2 million customers, and we provide three key services: the potable water, recycled water, and sewerage services. And on top of that thing, we have started going into the energy as well. So we have a waste to energy plant that we are currently operating. So, and I can see going into the future, this area expanding rapidly as well. So, as Ravi mentioned, pretty much all the water authorities in Victoria are owned by the state government and regulated independently. So we have an asset base about $5 billion, which include about 20,000 kilometers of water and sewer pipes, as well as 10 sewage treatment plants, water tanks, pump stations, and all the necessary infrastructure to manage modern water and sewerage services. And our staff, we have about 700 staff. Pretty much all of our staff are based in one head office, which is located in Mitcham. Other than that, we have only very limited number of staff in our sewage treatment plants. I mentioned there are about 10 sewage treatment plants that we manage. So I think less than 2% of our staff are stationed in the sewage treatment plants. And also our day-to-day maintenance function, we have outsourced that thing. So Yara Valley Water is just managing the high-level operations, and our maintenance contractor is responsible to attend day-to-day issues. So that is just a bit of insight into Yara Valley Water. And our service area is about 4,000 square kilometers. So as you can see, it is a big area which we service within Melbourne. And about more than 1/3 of the entire Melbourne population is serviced by Yara Valley Water. So before I go into the detail and talk about the impacts on the water industry, I thought there's a possibility this webinar is attended by some participants from the other countries. So just give the little bit of a bigger picture. And it's fair to say both Australia and Malaysia has done reasonably well with regard to managing the COVID-19 situation, because I think the two countries have similar amount of cases, and there might be other countries who are experiencing this thing much worse. So though some of our experiences are transferable directly to Malaysia and vice versa, if there are any participant from the other countries, they have to be mindful how they transfer this knowledge and applicable to their countries. So just to give you a bit of insight into the Victorian case, I have put some key dates because this probably will help you to understand our response. So Yara Valley, so the Australia as a nation went into lockdown from 13th of March. I think similar to Malaysia, because I heard that you all went to the lockdown 18th of March, probably 5 days earlier than that, and then we managed to flatten the curve quite quickly. And then from about early June, we have started easing some of the restrictions, but again, a couple of days back in Victoria, the situation seems changing slightly. So what I wanted to highlight here is this COVID-19 situation is a very evolving situation, and it is very important all the water authorities to have that capability to manage that and evolve as the situation requires us to do so. And the next point, before again I go to the bigger picture, how all the industries are impacted. I think it's probably worth highlighting when we look at the different, it's fair to say pretty much all the industries are impacted. According to a recent survey done in April in Australia, more than 2/3 of all the industries or businesses in Australia are impacted. So to be exact, 69% of the businesses have responded saying that they have impacted in one way or the other. But when you look at that impact on the different industries, we probably need to appreciate the fact that impact on the water industry is relatively low, because if you look at that my top graph, accommodation and education industries are very severely impacted, whereas the electricity, gas, water services the impact is relatively lower. Maybe because we are essential services, so whether it is rain or shine, we have to keep doing what we do well. So that is something very important. And also, what would be the impact on the workforce? That bottom right graph is showing the impact and how people feel comfortable about the future, financial future of the next 5 years. And there was only like one sector who were feeling optimistic. So if you can see that public services, there's like 7% positive, which indicate that we as a Victorian water industry, being a public owned industry, our workforce is probably feeling much better than most of the other industries. So I just thought of probably giving that context so that we can probably appreciate the impact on the water industry in this bigger context. So when it comes to the COVID-19 response, like many other industries or many other organizations, Yara Valley Water in so far experience is like there are different phases to this one. So the phase one is immediate response. Um, I mentioned that we went, the Australia as a nation went to lockdown on 13th of March, which gave us a bit of breathing space because the first case was detected in late January. So that 3-4 weeks, Yara Valley Water didn't waste ourselves. So we did a lot of pre-planning work and preparing ourselves for this impending lockdown. So which made us our life a lot easier when we are moving to the phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. So now we have completed the phase 1 and 2, and we are currently in this phase 3, which we are thinking about what's the best way to go back to work. So in my presentation, I'll take you through a little bit more detail into what we did in each phase. So at the very beginning, the first phase, we decided, we had that question, what are our key goals as a business? And at the very beginning, we made that right goal, water, sewer being an essential service, we are not going to compromise our service. So we are going to do everything that we used to do and deliver all the key KPIs as per the expectations from our key customers. And in order to do that one, we came up with the Yara Valley would have like really good planning processes around preparing to emergencies, but of course not to like emergency this scale, because I don't think anybody would have prepared for the pandemic. But the good thing is, because we used that first 3-4 weeks, when it come to the shutdown, we managed to face that shutdown much better condition than most of the other organizations, I guess. So just to give you a bit of insight how well we managed that transition. So this graph in the left-hand side tells you how quickly we managed to transfer our entire workforce, which is typically based in this our Mitcham office, 700 staff typically based in Mitcham office. Within 5 days, we managed to start all of them working from home within 5 days, which I believe is a very big feat, because how we could do that, because there was a lot of pre-work that we have done there. In Yara Valley Water, pretty much all the employees had their own laptop and then the headset. So just taking them home the laptop was quite easy, because everybody was using a laptop and nobody was using desktop computers or anything like that. And also at Yara Valley Water, we have done a lot of work with regard to the cyber security, things like network segregation, which are like probably foundational if you are expecting your entire workforce to work from home. So one of the biggest challenge that we faced during that first phase, because it is not an easy feat to get like everybody, 700 staff members starting working from home. So one of the biggest challenge is setting up their home offices. So there was like a lot of requests for additional equipment and everything, but we managed to face that challenge in a in a really good way, and prioritizing the needs. When we come to the prioritizing, we identify all the key staff who will need and vulnerable staff who will need these additional support and equipment, and we managed to solve that thing. And also, it's fair to say all the staff members adapted to this working from home or remote working very quickly, which was a really good thing. And we already had the MS Teams pilot going at that time, so so that helped us to transfer our workforce to working from home as well. So couple of other big challenges that we faced during this transition period. When we are expecting all our staff members to work from home, at the same time, the state government expected people to do the school from home. So all the kids were staying at home and homeschooling. So for the staff members, managing those competing priorities was a challenge, and Yara Valley would come up with a mechanism to deal with that. So we gave coronavirus leave for all the necessary staff members to manage that work-life balance. There was like 14 days additional leave on a need basis to manage that work-life balance during this difficult period. And also the second phase is like looking after our customers, because it is fair to say most of our customers was facing hardships as well. So as you can see from these graphs, 40% increase in customers asking for support, and 900% increase in relief grant applications, and 360% increase in concession applications. So Yara Valley Water, being a state-owned company, we managed to look after our customers during this difficult period as well. So there was like 6 additional hardship programs that we started to help our customers. Things like waiving all the restaurant owners. They usually pay a trade waste discharge fee, and we managed to waive that fee. And similarly, for the bill payments, we managed to extend that payment periods for the vulnerable customers. So that second phase was like looking after the customers while ensuring all the key service levels are met with regard to the services that we are delivering. And when it comes to the third phase that we are currently in, this finding might surprise most of you, because probably this is a bit of inside world leading insight into how the staff members feeling, like a probably top in water utility. So we are currently looking at, we asked the staff members, or we did a survey to understand how they think going into the future. So the 3 questions were like, would you like to work full-time from home going into the future? Do part-time work from home and the office, or who would like to come full-time into the office? And only 3% of our staff members who participated in that survey said that they want to come back to office full-time, because uh, there are a lot of benefits in this arrangement as well. So there are a lot of benefits that management has already seen. Say for an example, in Ravi's presentation, he mentioned the productivity. We can see the productivity has gone up because of the fact that people don't have to travel to and from their workplaces, and it probably helped them to like manage the work-life balances as well. So there are a lot of good things coming out of this pandemic, right? And when it comes to this transitioning back to the office, Yara Valley Water wants to do it in a very equitable way. So when we are looking at people who should be getting the priority coming back to office, the vulnerable staff members, we will be giving the priority. Operational staff members, if they are keen to come back to office, we will give the priority. And also this is an evolving situation, as I mentioned to you, and we wanted to empower our staff members to make that decision as well. It is not just like a management decision that we make. We will be doing that thing in consultation with all our staff members. And when it comes to the transition impact, our number 1 priority is the safety of our staff, and it's always that's the case. And also we have to be mindful the situations can change very quickly, because as I mentioned to you, in Victoria now there's a bit of a fear about a possible second wave, and the current advice for all the Victorian authorities are, if you can work from home, you must work from home. So in that sense, till end of July, all our staff members will be mandatorily working from home. But beyond that, there's a high possibility we will give all our staff members the flexibility to decide whether they will choose to work from home or from the office. So those are the key learnings from the stage 3. And then going ahead, looking into the future, what are the key trends that we see? I can, in Australian context or in the Melbourne context, I can make a call these working from home arrangements are here to stay. So I can't see that Yara Valley would are rushing back to all our staff members to come back to office, because most of our staff members will have that flexibility to working from home going into the future. We haven't made those decisions yet, but I can see that thing coming. And also what we have realized during this time is you don't have to be office based to make sure all your service level agreements are met and you deliver all world class water and sewerage services. It can be done remotely. Especially at Yara Valley Water, all our technological infrastructure we had has helped us to achieve that objective very quickly. And there are a lot of good technological opportunities coming through this COVID-19 situation. So for an example, I can give you a very good example. Typically, if we were to implement a new software like MS Teams, what we do, we typically do an initial pilot. That pilot might run for like 3 months, and then we will expand and gradually deploy that new software into the workforce, right? But this COVID-19 situation has shown us these sort of technological things can be deployed very fast, because in our case, within a week, we managed to get all our staff members using MS Teams, and we didn't provide lot of training there, because it was like people managed to learn how to do these technological tools for their day-to-day work. So I can see that trend as well. And going into the future, I think our workforce would be expanded, because we should be able to use the expertise from the other areas using the remote meetings and remote recruitments. But one challenge that we will have is cybersecurity. It is something that we take very, very seriously at Yara Valley Water. Cybersecurity is always one of the #1 priorities when it comes to any of the technological deployments. So we have seen during this period, the phishing attacks on our system has increased. The people trying to access our system, which we call as the phishing attacks, have increased, and we are collecting some of the data to ensure we have the proper systems in place. And then what are the key opportunities for the universities and others? I can clearly see a lot of opportunities for the universities and academics in this area. Say for an example, sewer quality monitoring to detect the COVID-19 clusters. There are some international research to suggest that sewer monitoring can be helpful to identify the clusters. So at the moment in Melbourne, there's a research organization called Water RA, or Water Research Australia. So they have got funding to carry out this research, and also I can see probably this sort of funding might be available for the universities as well. And when we move all our workforce into like working from home arrangement, there will be a lot of opportunities on the new tech with regard to the working from home as well. So I'm pretty sure there will be some good opportunities for universities to play their role in this space as well. And one other key thing, or the last point I want to highlight, is the staff well-being. Moving people from office to working from home is like a big challenge. If this is going to stay, is going to be a trend into the future, there will be well-being aspects that we need to be mindful. So there might be a lot of research that we can do in this area, how it is impacting the productivity, how the people are feeling in isolation, and all these things. So those are the key research areas that I can see that would be useful going into the future. So I hope during this 20 or so minutes, I have managed to give you a bit of insight into how we have managed the COVID-19 situation and what are the key trends going into the future. And if you have any questions, more than happy to take it now, or you can email me and happy to reply back. Over to you, Jega.
open the floor for questions. I see a few people are on the chat. They are asking some questions. So maybe Professor Zainura, maybe can I read the questions or you would like to go through?
I'll go through. Some of
Yeah,
the questions are quite similar in nature.
yeah, yeah.
I think since it's 3:52 at the moment, it's okay to perhaps extend another 10 minutes, perhaps,
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
gather for these questions. Okay. I'll go with the first question from Dr. Amirul Abu Bakar from Faculty of Civil Engineering here in UTM. His question is on the SDP. I think this question is directed to Engineer Hanifa. Okay, so the question is that the sewage treatment plant operate 24/7 around the clock. So is there any opportunity for IWK to optimize the energy consumption throughout to achieve sustainability? So I think that's the first question. Perhaps Engineer Hanifa would like to answer that one first.
Yes, thank you for the question. Optimization of energy is one of the major costs of sewage operation. Now it accounts to close to slightly more than 30% of the total operating cost. So whether it's MCO, COVID-19 or not, there is always continuous effort to actually manage the utilization and optimization of energy. And IWK, we have actually engaged into a ISO 15000, which is energy management, and we have many initiatives. Now what we are looking at is other source of energy, rather than depending on one source of energy from our National Energy Board or TNB. If we can look at renewable energy and other source of energy to actually through the processes within a sewage treatment plant, that is the probably one of the research area which the universities can look into.
Thank you, Engineer Hanifa. I hope that's answered Dr. Amirul's questions. The next questions coming from Professor Fadil. Actually, maybe perhaps the questions are similar to questions thrown by Professor Azmi. So it's both of them are from Center of Environmental Sustainability and Water Security, which I'm also belong to. So Prof. Fadil's question is regarding the water consumption trend and the MCO or throughout the PKP session. Is there any disruption or is there any changes in terms of water consumption, both from the aspects residential as well as industry? And is there any strategies being placed to manage again such crisis in the future? So the question I perhaps could combine in terms of both the consumptions as well as the quality of the water trend throughout the MCO period. So I guess this question is more appropriate to maybe Haji Zurain. Would you like to answer that question? Maybe also speakers from Victoria could also share their experiences on this matter. Thank you. So Haji Zurain, are you there?
Sorry. Sorry, I did not on the speaker.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you, Professor. Oh yeah, on the for RSAG during the period of MCO up until now, the trend of consumption has reduced, and in fact, the change of the category. What I mean is domestic and non-domestic. But before the MCO, the non-domestic comprising of 60% of the whole consumption, 40% was from domestic. But the trend has changed because people are staying at home and industries are closed down during the period, and therefore, today, the consumption is overtaken by domestic now. Domestic is around 50% and the non-domestic is around 40%. And this trend seems to be continued, I think, for the next probably is so uncertain. But we assume that based on our projection, this trend will continue up to the near to year end. We'll come back. We can see the trend clearly on the last quarter of this year. And for the managing the disruption during the period, as SPAN has come out with the guideline during MCO, we can't do a repair, a planned repair whatsoever. We can only attend to an emergency repair. And we can't work at night, and therefore, but fortunately, during the period from March, April, and May, number of fibers is controllable. Means that it's slightly below normal, just because people the consumption has reduced. Pressure-wise, at the network were quite good, maintained. We have pressure monitoring logger in place in many networking system, and we monitor closely through a system they call AquaSmart. And through the system, we can sense that the management of the leakages, disruption during the period has been quite well. And overall, if talking about the consumption and talking about the disruption, and finally the billing, as I said, the way we strategize, the billing has terminology has proven that finally the organized RSAJ overall revenue did not badly affected. Alhamdulillah.
Also continuing the question also from Prof. Azmi, is there any, if SAJ detect any changes in terms of the water, the raw water quality taken extracted from the water body period?
Okay, thanks a lot to IR Hanifah and your team, particularly during the period whereby the quality of the RBK plants and because of a lot of factory also shutting down, the quality of the raw water has improved drastically during the period. Particularly, if I refer to one of the plant nearby here, which is Kudai treatment plant, normally the ammonia level is around 5 to 7 ppm. We have several IBK plant upward and plus several industries from Senai. But then during the MCO, it has dropped to 2 ppm or low, and most of the time is maintained below 1 ppm. Was very good, and even in the picture you can look at Sungai Segit also the cleanliness of the Sungai Segit, yes, improved and very green at the time, bluish and greenish, yeah. And these are the things that I love. I'll say it's a good experience of the COVID-19. I hope the situation and the improvement in raw water maintain and continue until for the future. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Haji Zurin. And just there are researchers in UTM who, because you mentioned about the study about the dosage of chlorine, the optimum dosage. There are researchers in UTM who's actually have embarked on that study or have initiated that study. So if RSAJ interested, we can get you connected to the researcher. So,
I love that. I more than my willingness for us to assist and to collaborate, particularly the data that we have throughout the period. We love to collaborate. We have collaborating with UTM in many occasions. A lot of projects that we work closely with UTM, except for Professor. I hope Professor also get involved in the future. See, and we hope for this part ammonia, which is of our interest, get us and get our data so that we can sit together. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, I have collaborated with SAJ since 2010. I work on the carbon footprint project for SAJ.
I'm sorry, Professor. I was the energy manager for SAJ.
Yeah.
Oh, you are with me, right? At the time,
yes.
No?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm very sorry. I did not because it's long ago before I moved to the other department. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get you connected with the researchers so we continue the discussions offsite.
Okay. Thank you,
All right,
Professor.
thank you. Okay, so I think one final question on the chart. I'm not sure whether we will be able to entertain questions orally, but again, this question from Dr. Faizwan. But I think Engineer Hanifa have presented in terms of the study that has been conducted in collaboration with UTM. But so his question is relating to this study on the COVID-19 in wastewater, particularly in STP. So is there any response to this, or would you like to comment again? Because I know that you have, Engineer Hanifa have presented, I think some description, has given some description in terms of the study being conducted in collaboration with UTM. I'm sure that we could arrange a separate session for this, but if Engineer Hanifa would like to comment on this further, because Dr. Faizwan is asking on this, whether you also have some working formality with the Ministry of the Environment regarding the study of detection of the COVID-19 in the STPs, wastewater.
Yeah.
Over to you.
As I mentioned earlier, the study is in the early stages. During the MCO period, we have collected a lot of samples. These samples are currently sitting in UTM labs in KL, MJIT. We will be continuing to do the study. We study from loss right up to the treatment plant and up to the rivers itself. So I think once we get more details of the outcome, we will be happy to share with UTM and the rest. UTM itself is involved in the study. And of course, this study is initiated by the ministry. We have to get the ministry clearances. And the objective is to see whether the sewerage system can be used as an early warning indicator to identify the cluster of COVID-19 around the catchment.
Thank you, Engineer Hanifah. I'm sure we can arrange another sessions which you can perhaps have another more further details, explanation and sharing sessions on this matter. Thank you again. Prof. Jega, over to you if you'd like to entertain any questions from your side. Or should we open?
Yeah, and one of the things I am learning here is that they said we have a lot of we have created a lot of health consciousness. So people use a lot of water to clean their hands and more sanitation. So I am not very sure in Australia whether the water usage has increased or not. Maybe Ravi or Ranga might be knowing. So that is interesting. So they are actually predicting there may be a water shortage be in the future. So I'm not very sure about that. That is one of my questions.
Probably Ranga may have something different, but in our case, Jega, no, we have not seen any increase. In fact, it's in winter in Australia now, so here,
Okay.
like usage is as low. So the usage is comparable to last year winter, and so our demand hasn't increased or decreased either, because a couple of industries, the dairy factories, they are still running as they are normally do. So I think our demand hasn't changed.
Just to add to that, I fully agree with Ravi's comment, especially the Yara Valley Waters context. 70% of our customers are residential users. So in that sense, their usage patterns pretty much remain the same or probably slightly increased, whereas the commercial case maybe it has reduced slightly less with industries like restaurants closing, but overall impact it is insignificant. So the trends are pretty much the same usage patterns compared to the last year, and we haven't seen any significant change from the last year figure. Just to add to something related with the first question about the energy usage at the treatment plant, I thought there might be something worthwhile I can share with the wider audience, because energy usage in the treatment plant, so reducing that usage is a very big topic in the water industry. So at Yara Valley Water, what we are doing is currently we are producing 25% of our existing energy requirements. We are generating by ourselves, basically using two technologies. We have something called waste to energy plant, and it is the Australia's first waste to energy plant, was created by Yara Valley Water. So if anybody wants to know a bit about that, I have just shared the link for that. And going into the future, by 2030, we want to be 100% energy neutral. That means all the energy used by the treatment plants as well as our office, we want to generate ourselves. So we are enhancing our waste to energy capabilities, as well as we are going into new areas like hydrogen energy. Yeah, so pretty exciting going into the future.
Thank you, Ranga. And also, we are interested in that the comment of World Health Organization increasing the chlorine dosage. It is actually the THM formation may be a big issue. We do a lot of modeling on chlorine decay and disinfection byproduct formation and so on. So yeah, we also can think about here, and we can do some sort of collaborative work in the future in that area. So that will be quite useful. Yeah.
Okay. I think we reached at the end of the session, so I'm handing over to the coordinator of the program to conclude the sessions. Thank you. Thank you again, Projega, and thank you all the panels.
Yeah, I also thank all of you and the panel. Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Prof.
you.
Zainura, Prof. Jaga, and everyone. It, um, it was a really interesting session. I think most of us sat here from the start until now. Yeah, so we really have learned many things, and also have opened our mind and enrich our knowledge on what happens during COVID in terms of the water industry, what to expect now, and also in terms of collaboration, existing collaboration, foreseeable collaboration. And this is a really eye opener for many of us. All right, so again, I would like to thank everyone, and hoping to see everyone again in next series. And until then, again, thank you very much on behalf of the Deputy Vice Chancellor Research and Innovation Office, Institute of Innovation. All right, thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.